Hey guys, welcome back to Wild Horizons. My name is Barrett, and today we're going to be doing an Amazon/Facebook Marketplace reptile supply unboxing. Make sure you stay tuned until the end, where we're going to go over what kind of enclosures we're going to be building for our animals. If you're new to the channel, we are a new YouTube channel here, just trying to make some educational and fun videos, kind of showing the examples of what some of our animals have, enclosure wise and setup wise, and then kind of care guides on that kind of stuff too. We're going to be doing in the future some more vlog style stuff, so if you enjoy that, make sure you stay tuned and subscribe down below. But again, by the title of today's video, we're going to be going over some Amazon and Facebook Marketplace reptile setups. So we're going to be going over some unboxings, and going over some plants, what's good, what's not good to put in your pet's enclosure, what's safe for them as well too, and then we'll be going over some Facebook Marketplace stuff too. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to kind of work our way from the table from this end down to this end, and we'll start off with the stuff that's already open that we got off of Facebook. I always recommend, especially if you're looking for a new animal or you're looking to upgrade your animal, go on Facebook Marketplace or eBay. There's always deals in your local area. This kind of stuff over here is over $500–600 worth of stuff. Typically, if you're buying it at a retail store or even online on Amazon, we got this stuff for under 200 bucks for everything. So you can get really good deals on stuff, especially if people are trying to get rid of stuff for cheap or trying to get rid of it quick if they're moving. But just to give you an example, this is an 18 by 18 by 24 enclosure. It's typically over $200 easy. Anywhere you go, we got it for 40 bucks. So we got a couple other enclosures as well. They're identical to this. We've gotten them for right around that pricing as well, but you can find some really good deals on Facebook. So make sure you stay in and stay tuned on Facebook Marketplace. I know I peruse through that all the time. That's all I do all day long is look through Facebook Marketplace. I'm sure a lot of you guys do as well. But other things we're going to go over of stuff that we got some lights and domes. So we actually got some lights in there as well. We got a couple T5 bulbs and bars. These T5 bulbs and bars are like $70 to $80 by themselves. So we got two of them, brand new in the box, never even opened, for $20 for 3 lights and this dome. So I mean, again, you can't beat that. Other stuff too that we got just recently, and again, all the stuff we're getting is for future builds. So we're going to be adding more animals to our collection, reptiles, amphibians. Make sure you stay tuned until the end, and we'll give some sneak peeks on what we're going to be building. But that'll be in the next couple uploads we're going to do here. Again, uploads every Tuesday and Friday. So make sure you stay tuned in and subscribe down below if you want to see more. But we got a fogger attachment. So this allows you, if you got a fogger like this one here, and you want to make different attachment points, instead of buying multiple foggers or having a huge setup, you can get these splitters that allows you to go from either one converse pipe to 2, or sometimes like this one even to 3. So you can do multiple different tanks off of one setup. These things save you a ton of money, and they're super cheap. This one, from a local pet store was 13 bucks. But again, we got this off Facebook Marketplace for, I think it was like $5. So you can get them for really cheap. Again, bunch more domes. We got some pots that we got for plants we're going to get into in a little bit here. And then some Eco Earth. So this stuff is awesome. So we use this in a lot of enclosures we have. Again, we're mixing that with different kinds of substrates. But this stuff is in like brick form, so you do have to add water to it. It expands out. It makes a ton of substrate. So just this one brick here, I believe this is actually 3 bricks in one. These things are really cheap, and in my recommendation, I think they're probably one of the better substrates. They hold moisture really well. You do want to be careful with mold if you get it too wet, but it holds humidity really well in the enclosure. So we mix this typically with like a play sand, use some like sphagnum moss, stuff kind of like that. But it does really well in a lot of reptile and amphibian enclosures. So next thing I think we'll do is we'll jump right into some Amazon unboxing stuff. So let's get right into that. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes to go through. We already have a couple more boxes for some later videos we're going to do for some other animals. Currently, right now, we are upgrading. We rescued a tortoise a little over like 2 weeks ago now. We're going to be building him a pretty decent sized setup. So we got a box over here, little sneak peek if you've already seen it in the video at all today. But this is a pretty big like bin and then kind of like tarp-ish enclosure that's going to go over top to hold the humidity in for a redfoot tortoise. But some stuff in here will be for him, and then some stuff in here will be for a crested gecko we have, and then we're also going to be getting soon, and make sure you stay tuned for this, some dart frogs. So that is what this setup is for, as well as one other setup we have is going to be for the crested gecko. But let's get right into to this Amazon unboxing. So again, we got 6 packages right now we're going to go over. It has all different kinds of stuff from substrate to, I think, some lights maybe, and a couple of misters, I think. So let's get right into this. So let's get our handy dandy little knife out and let's crack into them. So this is a big box. I think I know what this one is. Again, you never really know how Amazon is going to package everything. It's always kind of willy-nilly. But this is what I thought it is. Okay, cool. So we got some organic potting mix. So this stuff is great to mix in with substrates for all different kinds of animals, but it's an organic potting mix. So you can get this on Amazon, or you can get it at your local garden center too, even Home Depot, Lowe's, and stuff like that. But this stuff is awesome to mix in with substrate. It helps hold humidity, and it's natural as well. So we'll put this out of the way and continue going through the rest of this box. But we're gonna go next thing here. This is some wire mesh. So this stuff does really good, especially if you're doing like a bioactive terrarium, which we are gonna be doing for a couple of animals we have and changing them up a little bit from some kind of basic enclosures to some really decked out ones with some of the tanks that we just got. But links for all this stuff is gonna be down below through Amazon. You can find some really cool stuff on there and get really good deals, especially if you're packaging a bunch of stuff together. Again, always check Facebook Marketplace for stuff too, but this kind of stuff, I don't want to obviously get that used, when I'm getting potting soil mix. Sure, you can find someone with like an unopened bag, but it's not that expensive. Just go on Amazon or Home Depot, Lowe's to pick it up. But this stuff is awesome. Helps, this kind of ties in with this next little thing here in this box. So we'll set this out of the way for a second. We'll talk more about it. But the next thing here, which is a heavy bag, is some clay balls or clay pebbles. So these do really well when you're doing a bioactive terrarium. So if you don't know what a bioactive terrarium is, Google it, go on YouTube, watch some videos. We're going to be making some enclosures on them as well for a dart frog we're going to be getting, or dart frogs we're going to be getting, as well as the crested gecko and some White's tree frogs we have. But these do really well. They go in the base of a lot of enclosures, like that 18 by 18 by 24 we have. Those usually hold about 6 gallons in the base of water and substrate. So what we do is we put this down first. These help kind of filter out that water, and then you'll put this wire mesh on top of that, and then you'll put your substrate on top of that, and that helps hold live plants and that kind of stuff. Helps hold the water in and retain that humidity inside the enclosure as well. But we'll put this out of the way. I think this is a 10-pound bag. I think it was like 20 bucks, 25 bucks, which is a really good deal. But we'll put this out of the way. Next up is some logs. So again, guys, I bought this on Amazon just so I can show you that you can get it off there. Go in your backyard, go to a local state park, or if you have some park near you that you can find some cool logs at, go there and get some of this stuff. I mean, especially with leaves, you can get like oak leaves, maple leaves, that kind of stuff that's not toxic to your animal. But these do great if you're doing like a bioactive terrarium where you're trying to like do like logs, draping from one side of the enclosure to the other. I'm trying not to cut myself here. But these are little like perch logs, so you can kind of angle them in the enclosure. This thing is taped really good. I need to cut it more. But these things, you can taper them off so your animals can go perch up on them. Create basking spots for your animals as well. We'll kind of show you what that looks like. This is impossible to open, even with this super sharp knife. Got it. So, again, you can kind of like angle these in the enclosure, you know, give it some kind of an angle or do some kind of like perching, you know, to give them some good basking spots. Again, the cool part about these and what I like branches like this is you can put them anywhere in the enclosure you want to, so you can regulate what kind of heat or basking area heat you're going to have within that enclosure and what that animal needs. So these and sticks in general are awesome. If you are getting them, you know, from anywhere, I always suggest you boil them in hot water. You want to like get all the crap off of them so you don't have, you know, any animals maybe living in it. Obviously, number one, that's the big thing, but anything toxic that can harm your reptile or amphibian or animal in general, you want to make sure you boil these with some hot water, let it soak for a little while, and especially if you're putting it in like a fish tank or something like that too, which we do have some larger fish tanks with pacu and stuff like that, which we can go into further videos, but tannins and stuff like that, it helps get a lot of the tannins out of the lumber and wood. So put this away and we'll get on to the next thing. The last thing in this box, which we'll get rid of this box here, is some sphagnum moss. So this stuff is awesome. So it helps hold a lot of humidity within the enclosure. I love this stuff, and this is I think it's like a 5-pound brick. So we use a lot of this stuff. It's awesome. It does help hold that humidity. Again, the one thing you do want to make sure you do before you just throw this into an enclosure or setup is do your research on what kind of an animal you have, what kind of humidity levels they need. Because if you are just drenching this stuff and letting it soak in water, it will mold, and that can hurt your animal and make it sick. So you do want to make sure you're giving it the right humidity levels and the right moisture inside that enclosure. But we'll get into the next box here. Alright, so next box. So we'll go ahead and open this one up. I don't know what's in here. Again, I ordered all this stuff and it all got delivered at the same time, so I know what I ordered, I just don't know what boxes have what in them. So you're gonna find out with me. So get that open there. And again, guys, don't open boxes how I open boxes. I don't know what I'm doing, so don't cut yourself. Okay, cool. So I mentioned this earlier. You can go outside and find leaves. You absolutely can. I know I can go outside and find a bunch of leaves, but I did want to at least get these. These are oak leaves. I don't have a lot of oak trees around me. I have a lot of maple trees. So I wanted to get these off of Amazon because they do great setting them down, especially if you're doing a bioactive enclosure, you know, with isopods or springtails and stuff like that to help clean up the waste inside of your enclosure. But leaves do awesome on top of substrate. So got a huge thing of that here, and we'll be putting those in some of our enclosures. Same thing with this, just like the pieces of lumber or branches we have. You do want to make sure that you are washing these off with hot water, letting them boil to get all that dirt and debris and junk off of them, especially if you're getting these from, you know, outside, which these obviously came from outside. But we're still going to clean these off, even though we bought them brand new off of Amazon, because they still can be dirty and harm your animal. So we'll throw this away and get into the next thing here. So I think this is the last thing in this box. Yep, again, throw that out the way. But this is cork bark. So we're going to be doing, in one of these boxes has something pretty cool that's going to help us build some of these bioactive enclosures. But cork bark is, I don't really need to get this out. I can throw some pictures up of what it looks like kind of closer up for you. There's like, you can get like tubes of it, you can get like corner branch parts. This stuff's awesome when you're doing like expanding foam or foam inside of your enclosure. You can do like dirt and debris and stuff like that on the back of it, let it dry, as well as put some cork bark within that. And you can do like small potter plants and stuff like that and kind of hang them, you know, in the back of enclosures. But this gives a perfect natural kind of a look. You're not going to find really a bunch of cork bark in your backyard. You may be able to find like bark and stuff like that. Same thing again, we're going to be washing this stuff off, cleaning it before we put it inside of our reptile or amphibians enclosure. So that's it for that box. Let's get into the next one. Alright, so next box here I did peek into this one because I thought this is what it was, and it is what I think it is. So we will cut this one on open. So this one, I believe, has two things in it that will help with holding a lot of that cork bark and other things like the branches, and put them inside the enclosure. It helps like hold them up. So this is two items in here. First of which is that foam. So this is a foam sealant. So this is what you're going to use in your enclosure. This one is a black sealant. You can get clear, white, and black. We like to do black just so you don't see a ton, especially when you're putting, you know, like that dirt or eco dirt onto the backdrop of the enclosure. Again, letting that dry overnight before you finish everything out in the interior, because you don't want moisture to get in that and it not set right. But this bottle will last a while. So, I mean, we can do multiple enclosures with this one bottle. And this stuff is awesome. You can really make whatever you want to out of it. So we love this stuff. But we'll put this away and we'll get into the last thing in this box. So last thing in this box is some marine adhesive. This is a sealant. So it's waterproof. Again, you don't want your animals eating this or anything. So before you put any reptile, amphibian, anything in an enclosure, make sure everything is cleaned off, set right, so it's not like moldable. Doesn't get on their, you know, pads or paws or fingertips or anything like that. So super important when you're doing this kind of stuff that you let everything set first. But this stuff will do great when you're doing your branches. When you're trying to set this at an angle, you can use some marine sealant, you know, and hold it on one side, let it sit, and do the other side as well. And this will give you, you know, kind of free range wherever in that enclosure you want it to sit. That's what we use this for a lot. But that's it for this box, and we'll get into the next one. Alright, so next box here is, I know what this is, but you don't yet. Well, I don't need a knife for this one. This is a mister or fogger. So we had one out already. This one we got on Amazon. That one we got off of Facebook Marketplace from earlier in the video. But this one is going to be for our tortoise, so our redfoot tortoise. We wanted to get this one, and the reason why is because this one has like a humidity control on it. So you can kind of control, you know, not only flow, but like the percentages. So this one's awesome. The link will be down below for it. We've used similar products to this in the past. You know, this will have that temperature or humidity gauge on it. Not temperature gauge, humidity gauge. So you can stick this wherever you want to, really in your enclosure. We like to do it towards the top because that's, you know, humidity, hot air rises, so we actually know what the, you know, temperature will be, or humidity levels will be. But again, stuff for this will be down in the description below. If you want it out, or if you want it for yourself, make sure you check it out. But yeah, pretty simple. So again, you fill this up with water, and then this, if I can get it out of this will sit on top, just like this. Just take this little plastic bit off. Whoop. But again, this is gonna sit just like that. Boom, right inside of there. And then the cool part about this stuff, you know, you can get those hoses and adapters like I had shown before with the stuff we got off of Facebook. There's some little suction cups if you want to suction cup, you know, this tubing to the side of your enclosure. But yeah, this just kind of sits on top, so it can kind of just sit there, and you can just dump water, you know, straight into the lid here. You don't have to take this thing off. That's the one thing we do love about these, is you don't take them off or move them. You can just, you know, leave it where it is next to your enclosure and fill it up directly in the top here. This holds a lot of water and it'll last days. So especially if you're the type of person that goes out on vacations and aren't always home, you know, doing this kind of a setup for animals that need that humidity is great. So again, the other big thing too with these pipes is make sure that it's not like this. So if your enclosure setup is lower than this, you're going to have issues with it dripping and getting a lot of condensation that's built up within this. The good thing that I like to do is you always want to have this at a higher level. So this stuff expands out higher than I can reach, you know, so I always suggest to put this on a lower level than where your enclosure is that you're trying to run that humidity to or the fog to. So again, this expands out to whatever you want it to be. You know, it can be whatever angle, but that's just a little tip. Don't, you know, make it lower. So say my enclosure is down on the ground, you don't want this above it. You want it below it. So just a heads up on that. But that's it for this box. Let's get into the last two we have. So we'll get into that. Second to last box here. So again, I have no idea what's in this. I know what I've ordered, but I don't know what's in this one. So let's get into it. Cut it on open here. And I'm cutting towards myself because I don't know what I'm doing. So make sure you cut away from yourself. Just fair warning. Cut away from yourself. Okay, cool. Amazon. And the reason why we didn't get this at our local plant place is because Amazon has these like packages where you can get all different size little pots, little plastic, you know, planter pots. And the reason why I like these is because, you know, they're not as heavy as the clay pots that you can get, and they're really cheap. I think all of these were like maybe $10. I can't exactly remember, but link will be below. They weren't much at all. So again, we like to get these just because you can set little corner plants with that foam, you know, inside of the enclosure, you know, and put these wherever you want to, so you get that real natural look. But all different kinds and sizes here, and it's really cheap. So make sure you check that out on Amazon if you need it. We have, oh, more cork bark. Look at that. So these are a little bit different, I believe, though, and holy mess. These are a little different. So these are what I was talking about before. These are the tubes. So you can see here, there's, actually you can't see all the way through it, but this has a bunch of dirt in it. So make sure before I'm putting this in my enclosure, I'm getting the dirt out, because I don't want all this crud inside my enclosure with my reptile. It actually looks like there's spider webs in here. So again, whether you're eating for a reptile store, Amazon, Facebook Marketplace, going outside, clean it off, because this stuff is dirty. It's from outside. So, but this stuff is great because animals can go inside this. They can create, you know, some kind of a shelter. It's really natural looking. Same thing though, we can kind of hang this wherever we want to in the enclosure with that foam and sealant, marine sealant. But it's really messy, so make sure when you get this out of the packaging that you're putting it somewhere where you don't mind cleaning it up. So we'll set these out of the way. I'll put them back in here, but there's two of them in this one. This one's a little bit bigger in diameter. I mean, to tell you dirt, like you can see all this stuff going on the table. That's just a little bit of it, but it's really dirty. So we'll get these out of the way. And I'm going to gently set these down because I don't want the dirt to go everywhere. I'll leave that there. But that was it for this box, and we're on to the last one. Last box. This one is really heavy, and I actually don't remember what else is left. I ordered this like a week ago, so I don't know what's in here. So I'm gonna cut away from myself this time, so you guys don't roast me down in the comments. Yep, let's get into this one. This is a lot of stuff. Okay. There's a box in the box, guys. Look, oh my gosh. We'll get into this in a minute. Oh, this is for, okay, so this stuff right here is actually for tortoises to be able to rub their beak on it. It helps get that beak down because tortoises can grow their beaks out really long. Then you have to clip it. It's uncomfortable for them. It's kind of like your nail finger clipped. No one loves getting their fingernails clipped, especially if you go to the pets, like not the pet spa. You go to the spa yourself to get your fingernails trimmed and your cuticles, you know, pushed back. No one likes that. So this is natural for them to use. It files down their beak naturally. It's just a harder stone, and you can put this anywhere in the enclosure you want to, and they'll kind of use that to rub their beak down naturally instead of you having to do it over time. We'll go get this out the way. Next here is some ceramic heat bulbs. So these actually don't like emit a light from them. It's just heat. So there's all different kinds. These are 100-watt bulbs. We have 100 watt, 50 watt, 150 watt, depending on the reptile or amphibian you have. You know, make sure you do your research on what watt bulb you need to get. Again, I don't always recommend just the heat emitter ones. You know, sometimes with the heat lamp, that's better for some animals. But these ceramic heating, you know, bulbs, they last a long time. So that's why we like them for some of our animals. But again, this is a 2-pack, and I don't think they're very expensive on Amazon. We buy a bunch of these because we have a bunch of animals. So these are always coming in on Amazon whenever we get packages. So, but they're awesome. So next thing in here is a tarp. So this is like a water tarp. So not your normal like tarp you put like, you know, on the back of your pickup truck or something like that when you're driving down the road, but it's like a rubber tarp. So we're putting this in our tortoise enclosure. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But these tortoise almost just hit something I didn't need to hit. But for the tortoise enclosure, that is going to need to hold humidity really well. And the setup we got, and make sure you stay tuned for that video because we're going to do a full build on it. But that needs to hold humidity really well. So redfoot tortoises, they need high humidity. It's one of the few tortoises that do need a really high humidity setup. And this does a really good job of holding that water in the base of the enclosure, you know. But again, make sure you stay tuned for that. We'll do a full in-depth video on the full build, what kind of plants can go in it, you know, and that kind of stuff too. Let's get into this last little box in a box, and that'll be it. And then we'll get into kind of some of the plants we got here too. I know what this is too. So got the box in the box last. This is another lamp. So again, this kind of stuff you can get on Facebook Marketplace. You're not always going to find what you need on Facebook Marketplace, so you can't get everything from there, but you can, you know, do a pretty good job, you know, finding stuff off of Facebook. This one we got on Amazon because it actually controls heat levels. So some of them don't do that. Actually, most of them don't do that. There's usually just like an on and off switch. But this one actually controls the heat emitted from this. So it has a heat probe or thermometer inside that's built into it. And this actually goes inside of your tank and setup. And if it's too bright or too hot in the enclosure, this will actually dim itself or even sometimes cut it off. Naturally, just to go ahead and, you know, keep the same heat level at whatever spot you need at that, you know, same even keel level, so it doesn't bake your animal or not get hot enough. So that's it for the unboxing, guys. We'll put this back in this, and then we'll get into the plants. So make sure you stay tuned, and I'll be right back. I don't need that anymore, so I'm gonna throw that in the old pocket here. But let's get into some of these plants, guys. So plants are awesome, and we just started doing some bioactive setups. And make sure before you just go out and buy plants because you think they look cool, some plants are poisonous to your reptiles, especially if they eat them, like and ingest them. That's, you know, some of them are super poisonous. So you want to make sure that you're doing your research, looking up, you know, go on Google and type in like, hey, is XYZ plant, you know, poisonous or dangerous for reptiles or amphibians or whatever kind of animal you're getting. I'm not even going to try to pronounce some of these names, so with whatever plant I'm holding up, there'll be a name that pops up right here. So this is actually a palm, so that one's pretty easy to say, so I can't say that one. This is a palm bella. These are great, so we're going to be putting this one on the ground for one of our enclosures. But again, let's get into some more of these plants here. All of these plants we got from our local garden center, but these are some... again, I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm not even going to try because I'll butcher it, but the name will be right up here at the top. We got 2 of these, and then we also got 4 of these spider plants. I can say that one. So we got 4 spider plants. They're little guys, so they're little babies. But our local plant store was doing buy 4 of these and you get them for $10. Normally they're like $4 or $5 a piece. So we got a pretty good deal on these. They'll make great little plants to put in the base of the enclosure for some of our bioactive setups. Actually, let's just set these out of the way. We got 8 of them. So we got 6 spider plants and then 2 of these other plants that I'm not going to try to pronounce. So we'll get those out of the way. That's number 4. I'll find the other ones. These are 3 clay pots. Clay pot. I can't talk. 3 clay pots. So these are going to be going in our tortoise enclosure. So there's a little hole in the base. That's why we like to use these for tortoises and larger turtles, because these you can actually set down inside of the substrate, and it helps with that humidity and holding water in the base of some of these. because some of these plants need more water, some need less, some need higher humidities, some need lower humidities, or different UVB setups. But again, these are great for tortoises. So we got 3 of these. Set them off to the side here. And then we got 2 of these plants, which are, these are jade plants. I can say these as well. These are also going to be going in our tortoise setup. So tortoises are going to try and bite things in their enclosure, if you didn't know. So these are not poisonous. I'll tell you for a fact they're not poisonous. Your tortoise will try and eat them. So whatever you're putting inside of your animal enclosure, reptile, amphibian, whatever, make sure they're not poisonous. Jade plants are not, and they are great to put in for tortoise enclosures. But we got both of these. These were $5 a piece, so pretty cheap. I think for all of our plants here that we're going to do today, it was like $150 for everything. So not that bad. We're going to make multiple different enclosures with these plants. So pretty good deal. Put that out of the way. Next up here, I really like this plant. So I'm not going to try and pronounce this one either, looking at the title or the name of this one. So name is right up here. This one was 20 bucks, so kind of on the pricier side for a little plant, but there's multiple plants inside of this, which is cool because we can take one and put it in one part and kind of stem them off in different areas or different enclosures even. But these are great because they give kind of a coverage light-wise, and then you can have your animals kind of sit under them or bask. They do, the leaves themselves are kind of heavier based. If you hear my dog running in the background, she's in her crate while I'm making this video, but apologize if you hear. But again, name will be right up here for this one if it hasn't already been. But this is a great one. It's not poisonous, and it can definitely go into your reptile enclosure or amphibian enclosure. This is one of those, there's dirt everywhere, one of the spider plants that we already went over. Not going to try and pronounce this one. It's actually a snake plant. Never mind. It has a very scientific name, but it's called snake plant. So that's all I'm going to call it. But the name, scientific name is up here. But this snake plant's awesome. Your animal's not going to be able to eat this. This is really tough. And again, maybe your tortoise will try, but it's not poisonous to him or anything like that. So this can definitely be a plant that you put in the enclosure. And then we got a little bag here with the rest of ours. Actually, we'll go over this. So much dirt on a lot of this stuff. Little clay disc. So normally you would actually set like a pot on top of this and then set water inside of this. But what we like to use for these and larger dishes too is for tortoises. So we can fill this up with water. It's good in a tortoise enclosure, and there's multiple other enclosures you'll need it for, but in tortoise enclosures especially, you need to have access to water for them. So you can set this in water. They can, while they're a little baby, they can come in, they can sit in it, get wet and move out of it. But this was $9, $10, so not too bad. Now, these plants, I saved these for last. Here's another, oh, I don't want to break this one. Here's another snake plant. This one's a little bit smaller, a little different kind as well, but Sansevieria, can't pronounce it. Snake plant, that's what it is. Oh, this is a Pothos Joy. So I do know what this is. You can actually set this in, the reason why I like these is because they drape a lot. So you can set these in like the corner of an enclosure or setup. That way that you can have some drapage or foliage actually come down instead of everything just going up. But I really love these. You can set these in enclosures. These can be poisonous to some reptiles and amphibians. The likelihood of, this is going in a dart frog enclosure, the likelihood of my dart frogs eating this is slim to none. I've never seen them eat this, but if they do, that's on me. I take full responsibility, but my dart frogs are not going to eat this plant. I'll be the first to say it. But if they do, it's on me. But it can be poisonous if they ingest it. If they're touching it and stuff like that, it's not going to hurt them. But it's only if they eat it. And dart frogs are not known to eat plants. They're carnivores. But the last plant here can also be poisonous. This one, I'm going to leave the name above. Its last part of it is Brazil. It's a Phil Brazil. But but it has nice coverage and foliage on it. That way that they can go and kind of sit up inside of it. It gives them good coverage. That way they can escape the sun and the heat. But that's really it. This gives kind of like a drape too, so you can kind of break these off and stem them off and repot them in different, you know, setups there to give you more coverage for where you want it in the enclosure. But again, all this stuff we got setup wise, plant wise, my pots and everything was like 150 bucks. So not bad at all. You know, it does great because it puts nutrients back in the soil. It creates more oxygen for these animals too. So I always love the bioactive setups. I've always wanted to do them for a long period of time. We started doing them a couple months ago, and they've just thrived. Especially if you're doing like springtails and isopods in the, you know, substrate. It helps clean that bio load up and just puts it right back into the substrate there. So it's kind of an everflow cycle. You just do have to watch the humidity levels and, you know, any kind of molding and stuff like that. But if you enjoyed today's content, guys, again, we're gonna be, with all the stuff that we've gone over today, making multiple different videos with setups of enclosures and terrariums, bioactive enclosures. So I think the next one that's gonna come out, which will be this week, will be the tortoise enclosure. We're also gonna be doing, right now we have one of our crested geckos in a little bit smaller of a setup. It's like a 12 by 12 by, I think, 18. But again, that's gonna be set up. The reason why we're changing him into like an 18 by 18 by 24 is because it's a little bit smaller of an enclosure. We did get her as a rescue, but again, make sure you stay tuned. We always love to give our animals a bigger setup than really what they need, but you know, it's always better to give them more, not less. So that's why we're gonna be doing that. And then we're gonna be going later this week, probably be in a next week video, and getting some dart frogs. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Leave some guesses down below as to what species or what color of dart frogs we're going to be getting. But if you enjoyed today's content, guys, again, many more to come. We're going to be uploading every single week, Tuesday and Friday, around 2 p.m.-ish, 3 p.m. So make sure you stay tuned. Drop a like down below if you enjoyed today's content, and leave a like. We definitely appreciate it here. But I hope to see you in the next one, guys. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.